In a control room in the eastern desert of Saudi Arabia, a decision is made every morning that almost no one on earth will see, and everyone on earth will feel. It is not about how much oil to sell, but how much to keep buried. The most powerful thing this company does is nothing. It can lift a barrel of crude for a lifting cost of roughly $2, while a shale driller in Texas may need 40, 50, 60 just to break even across the full life of a well. And yet, every single day, this one kingdom deliberately holds millions of barrels it could sell beneath the sand. That silence sets the price of everything you own, the fuel in your car, and the electricity flowing behind this screen. This is not an oil company. It is the last analog superpower, the final entity on this map whose raw material still moves the physical world with its own weight, and at its center lies a paradox it cannot outrun. It must keep selling the one substance the future is trying to abandon. In Node 009, we mapped BlackRock, the operating system of money. But capital is an abstraction. It only holds value if something real stands behind it. There is a substance that still turns the wheel of civilization, drawn from a single kingdom trying to convert crude oil into computation. Welcome to Node 010. Welcome to Saudi Aramco.
Chapter 1: The Buried Ocean.
To understand the power, you first have to understand the rock. In 1948, American geologists surveying the eastern desert confirmed a geological structure so vast it would quietly rewrite the 20th century. They called it Ghawar. Production began in 1951, and it has not stopped since. Ghawar is not a large oil field. It is the oil field, the largest conventional oil field ever discovered, a single continuous body of crude stretching roughly 280 kilometers by 30. Over its lifetime, it has yielded more than 65 billion barrels, more petroleum than any single field in the history of the human species. But the number that defines Aramco's power was never its size. It is its lifting cost. While a shale operator in the Permian Basin gusts fracture rock and burns through capital across a well's entire life just to reach break-even, Aramco lifts its oil from these mature giants at a cost among the lowest ever recorded on Earth. Reported below $5 a barrel, and by its own chief executive as near to. This is the foundation of everything that follows. Aramco's moat is not technological. There is nothing to out-innovate. It is geological, buried, ancient, impossible to replicate. The kingdom did not build this power. It was born on top of it. Granted what no other producer possesses in the same measure, not the obligation to pump, but the freedom to choose.
Chapter 2: The Weapon of Silence.
Here is the heart of this node, and it is the precise opposite of what most people believe. The power of Saudi Arabia was never in how much oil it pumps. It is in how much it refuses to pump. The kingdom holds a sustainable production capacity of roughly 12 million barrels a day, yet routinely produces well beneath that ceiling. That gap is called spare capacity, and Saudi Arabia commands the overwhelming majority of the only meaningful spare capacity on the planet. Barrels that can be switched on within weeks, not the years every other producer needs. Call it what it is, a weapon of silence. power exercised not by acting, but by withholding. Every other node in this archive projects force by doing, ASML by printing, Starlink by transmitting, Palantir by seeing. Saudi Arabia projects force by waiting, and this is not theory. The world has felt this weapon twice, fired in opposite directions. In 1973, the Arab producers led by the kingdom did the unthinkable. They cut, within a single winter, the price of oil roughly quadrupled, from around $3 a barrel to nearly $12. The post-war era of cheap energy ended overnight, and energy security was born as a permanent doctrine of Western statecraft. In 2020, the kingdom demonstrated the mirror image. When Russia refused to cooperate on production cuts during a collapse in global demand, Saudi Arabia did the reverse of 1973. It opened the valves, surged toward 12 million barrels a day, and slashed its official selling prices. Brent crude fell more than 20% in a single trading session, the sharpest one-day collapse in almost 3 decades. Cut, and the world burns, flood, and your rivals drown. That is the full range of the weapon, and no other nation can hold both ends of it. But every weapon carries a vulnerability. The processing and export of the world's swing supply is concentrated into a handful of facilities, the vast stabilization plant at Abqaiq chief among them, and the strike that briefly disabled it in 2019 revealed the paradox at this node's core. The kingdom's greatest strength, concentration, is also its greatest exposure. And the rise of American shale broke its monopoly over price. Aramco can still move the market with a sentence, but it now shares a throne it but once held alone.
Chapter 3: The Kingdom's Bloodstream.
To understand why the kingdom wields this weapon with such caution, follow the money inward. Aramco is not a company that happens to be owned by a state. It is the state circulatory system. The Saudi government holds roughly 82% of the company directly, and only about 1.5% ever floated to the public in the 2019 listing. When Aramco earns, the kingdom breeds. When Aramco bleeds, the national budget bleeds with it. This is why Aramco pays some of the largest dividends ever recorded by any corporation. They are not shareholder generosity. They are the lifeblood funding a nation. Its salaries, schools, hospitals, security. Strip away Aramco, and the Saudi state cannot pay for itself. And here lies a permanent tension no annual report can resolve. The fiscal break-even, the oil price the kingdom needs simply to balance its budget, climbing year after year as its obligations grow. Push the price to high, and you awaken the shale drillers. Push it to low, and you cannot pay the bills of the kingdom you already have. Every barrel held back in silence is a calculation about whether a nation can meet its own payroll.
Chapter 4: The Gilded Trap.
If the present is about paying the bills, the future is about buying an escape from them. And here lies the deepest paradox of the entire node. Saudi Arabia knows the age of oil will not last forever. And so it has launched one of the most ambitious national transformations in modern history. Vision 2030, a bid to build a post-oil economy, driven by its public investment fund. But here is the trap. The escape from oil is being financed by oil. The very barrels the kingdom hopes to render obsolete are the barrels paying to render them obsolete. The two worlds bound into a single hand. as Yasser Al-Rumayyan chairs both Aramco and the transformation it funds. The new economy is a subsidiary of the old. Aramco is even reshaping the barrel itself, pivoting toward crude-to-chemicals, converting oil directly into plastics rather than fuel, betting that even in a world of electric cars, civilization will still be built from hydrocarbons. This is the Gilded trap. The kingdom is wealthy beyond measure and imprisoned by the source of that wealth. It must burn the bridge it is standing on without falling, and the clock is not on its side.
Chapter 5: The Last Barrel.
So where does the last analog superpower go in a world going digital? The story of modern power has migrated from oil to silicon, from the photons of ASML and the silicon of TSMC to the memory of SK Hynix and the instruction set of ARM, to the compute of NVIDIA, to the cognitive engines of OpenAI, to the orbital grid of Starlink. Power today is measured not in barrels, but in watts and in data. And the kingdom has noticed. This is no longer a thesis waiting for evidence. In May of 2025, the kingdom launched Humane, a state-backed company chaired by the Crown Prince himself, built to construct the entire artificial intelligence stack, data centers, cloud, chips, and models, and Aramco has bound itself directly to it as a key investor in the kingdom's hyperscale AI build-out. The logic is plain, with artificial intelligence projected by the International Energy Agency to drive roughly 20% of all electricity demand growth in the world's advanced economies through 2030. The nation with the cheapest energy on Earth intends to sell not just the oil, but the power the age of intelligence will run on. The bet is to turn crude into compute, but let us be precise, because precision is the currency of this channel. This is a bet still being placed, not a crown already won. Aramco remains, by overwhelming measure, an oil company wagering on tomorrow, not a computing power today. But the logic closes the loop of everything we have mapped. The what is the new currency of intelligence, and the barrel is still the what. The oil that once moved engines may yet move the machines that think. Whether the kingdom escapes its gilded trap or merely gilds it further will be one of the defining questions of the century. Because in the end, Saudi Arabia's true power was never the oil it chose to sell. It was the oil it chose to keep. And yet a kingdom's entire power rests on a single assumption, that the world will always need the barrel. But in a single Chinese province, one company already builds more than a third of the world's batteries. The cells that store energy without burning anything at all, engineered to sever the link between motion and combustion forever. The next node does not pump the oil. It builds the machine designed to end the need for it. This has been a Silicon Node Intelligence briefing. Follow the money. Follow the nodes. If you value this level of industrial intelligence and want to stay ahead of the disruptive trends shaping the 21st century and beyond, join us.
We are Silicon Node Reports, and this was Saudi Aramco, the weapon of silence, the power to starve the world. Subscribe to Silicon Node Reports. Let's decode the future of the world's most critical supply chains together. Silicon Node reports the infrastructure of global capital.